Hey guys and gals, welcome to the first video for Rust Survival Garage. So on this channel we're going to be taking derelict old junk and trying to make it run and drive, be fairly street legal. And the first up project is going to be this. This is an old dirt track car, Oldsmobile. I think it was built 10 or 12 years ago. I actually previously owned this car and sold it. Was fortunate enough to get it back. The only modifications I've done to it so far was I took the bar for the racing seat out so I could stick these seats in it and have it semi-comfortable. Of course, there's all kinds of hackery done to this one,
That ain't no kidding.
as you can see. So we'll be changing a lot of this. The plan is for this to be a semi-streetable track car. So we'll be able to mount some tires kind of like what's on the front to it and go tear around the yard, or we'll be able to put some slicks on the back and take it to the drag strip. Of course, the quarter's going to need work. We have other front fenders and the deck lid is an absolute mess. So, and the doors, I believe, will leave as skins because there's no real point in having opening doors with this cage. Underneath, not much in the way of a trunk. Now, I did already swap the rear axle. I had a guy at work that was wanting it. Put in a regular old 7.5 in there. It had a 9-inch, but it was way too wide. Nothing was going to work on that. Interior wise, of course, not much left, and you wouldn't really expect it. So I'm gonna have to put a firewall back there because the gas tank will live in the trunk area. Some of the structure for the top has been cut out, but I think we can put a windshield back in it. Of course, the dash is, well, it's the dash. Floor's fairly solid on this one.
Fairly.
So unlike some of the rest of the car, you can see even before it was a dirt track car, it had a lot of rust. So that was probably what caused it. From when I got the car, it was fairly newly built. And the guy had told me that the hood came up on the people that had it, the original owners. But this crease right up here in it busted the windshield, and that's what officially did it in for this car. And it was fairly rusted. It had holes in front of the wheels that we put temporary patches over and everything at the time. When I actually got rid of it, the quarter panels had not been cut. They were still full quarters. That rear frame section had not been replaced, things like that. But it has since, to my knowledge, not been raced. I actually found this back in a barn. I'll post some pictures of it when I first found it. So stay tuned. On top of our dirt track build, we have this car here. It's an 82 Olds. That's my boy's here. He's actually been working on putting this thing together over the summer. I actually bought this thing as a parts car and couldn't bear to part it out because it is completely solid, other than some damage to the quarter panel and door back there. It's hard to see with the lack of light, but we've repaired most of that over the summer. Didn't get any of it on video, of course. And Brian, go ahead and pop the hood. So this little gem is an engine he built completely by himself. It's a Oldsmobile 260, stock bore, stock crank. It's got a pretty beastly camshaft in it for what it is. It's got an Edelbrock SP2P intake, which is the only one that'll work for an Olds 260 to mount a 4-barrel on it. And it should be a pretty decent little engine for his first car.
Let's just hope it doesn't break since we've not ran it yet.
Yeah, and it has not ran, not fired up. The exhaust manifolds are actually really good. Those are Thornton manifolds for small block Olds into a G-body. They fit phenomenal. So we will be seeing how those run in a while. It'll probably be spring before we get around to this, and we just wanted to give an upcoming on some of the things we had. The interior is the reason, mainly besides the overall shape of the body, that I could not part this thing out.
A little dusty.
Yeah, it is a little dusty. Completely crack-free dash. Seats aren't torn. Bolsters are still good. I mean, this thing is awesome. We have the back taken apart, repairing that damage in the quarter. We had to get some access back there. But other than that, look at this thing. He will be the second owner. So apparently the original owner had it, got a little older, and backed a tractor into it, and that's actually what caused the damage. Then he couldn't live with the damage, so he started trying to fix it. The fix was a little bit less than what I would have done. It had about a 1/4 inch of Bondo back there. So everywhere from the door jamb back, right there, was smashed in about finger's depth or more. And they had just filled it in with Bondo all the way up into that pillar area there. So we pulled the dent out, hammered it, got it to where it is. So I think we're pretty good with finishing it and then applying a little bit of skim coating, and we should be, there's a little bit of damage behind the wheel there too. But overall, not too bad. It'll be a good start, and I think it'll be a good first car when he finally gets it going. We'll be able to fire it up here this spring. But we have several more. So stay tuned, because actually this car over here will be getting some work done to it also. This is also an 82, and this is a original diesel car. And we have the original diesel in the garage all put together. The short block for it's all done. We just got to get the heads, some studs, and it'll be going. And of course, piles of engines for other projects. And this is a 87 Cutlass under this cover here that will be kind of in between. And we've also got an El Camino coming up. So a lot of G-bodies, a lot of good stuff. We're going to try to throw in a little bit of everything. So stay tuned. Okay, we got the race car in the shop. We're gonna go ahead and pull front fenders because they're floppy and absolutely useless. Pull the core support, get the dash out of the way, get ready to swap the steering, because we're gonna put a stock steering column in this car if we can. It's not too far cut up. And then that'll get ready for one day down the road if we want to put blinkers and everything on it, we can do that. So again, the key to this car is to have, we can put the dirt track tires on it, go around the yard, or we put drag slicks on the back, take it down to the drag strip.
That'll be fun.
It will be fun. We got the engine for it is going to be a 383 stroker that the camera's actually sitting on right now. Completely forged bottom end. Problem is, with all the slowdowns and whatever, we can't get heads for it. So the heads I was wanting from Blueprint Engines are actually out of stock until May. So that's going to be a while. We have a temporary engine that can go in it, but yeah, it's going to take a minute. We've got brake lines to do. We got pretty much everything. I'll bring you in for the damage to the firewall, so we're going to get everything tore down so we can fix this. The damage to the firewall is actually fairly extensive. So you can see we've got a lot of stuff kind of torched out. Get some damage up here. Luckily the throttle bracket hole is still there, or the throttle cable hole, so that's kind of nice. We're going to fix this. And then I've got a different panel for this, so I'm actually going to have my boy out here drilling these out so that we can get this removed. And the upper panel is gone, which that's not very important. We don't really need windshield wipers on this. We're going to make some patch panels to go around these enormous holes for the roll cage.
Yeah, that was a little excessive.
That was enormous. I mean, that's, I guess, the fast way to do it. But the caging is actually pretty good. We did have to cut these bars out previously when we were trying to stick this core support back in here, but that wasn't too bad. But we're going to go with another core support that's more complete. Yeah, this is odd. It's got one down bar here, and you can see the other one was cut out. on this side, which I'm assuming it interfered with the brake booster. So that's a bit odd. I might try to put another one in there just to have the strength. And that side's got two, which is actually really nice. So we're gonna try to figure out what we're gonna do with that. Complete modifications of the cage. We're gonna take, so this was never meant for a in-car seat. These seats are not gonna stay. These are temporary. We'll take it around with these seats, but we're eventually gonna put suspension seats in this so that it's actually comfortable when we're taking it around, because again, this is not gonna be a dirt track car anymore. But we're gonna take this top bar out because it's just right on your shoulder in here. This one's okay, and then we're gonna add another door bar coming around and then tie these together much like that side is. And the only point of that is for safety, just for the passenger as well, because you never know what'll happen. I tend to lean on the side of safety more than you would otherwise. We actually took a bar out too to fit the seat, going from up there down through a hole, it's hard to see it, hole in the floor right there. And we've got all kinds of sticks and leaves and everything else in there right now. So that's going to take some cleaning out. There's a better look from earlier inside the trunk area. This is actually bolted in and tied in right here to a substructure underneath. So that's kind of nice. We're going to get rid of this bumper today because that's useless to us. And then just kind of, that's a starting point. The one bad thing is that down bar there is annoyingly close to the shock mount. So when you're putting bolts through there, it is a pain. It was hard getting them out on that 9-inch that was in it. Our plan with this is 373 gears and a mini spool. We're not going to change the axles, which is going to lead to a spectacular brake, but that'll kind of be entertaining. So we'll see how long it takes for that 383 stroker to break it.
A lot of random stuff with Bondo.
Yeah, it does have a lot of odd random Bondo in it. So we're going to get rid of So there you go. We got a front hoop. There used to be a bar going from here to here, which would be kind of nice for strength, just to hold this. I mean, would you ever need it? Probably not. Not for what we're doing. But I don't know. Just in case you hit a wall, it'd be kind of nice. Or in our backyard, hit a tree, because that's perfectly possible for us. It looks like all the suspension was completely stock. That looks to me like a stock arm there. The tire, oh, that doesn't have a pin in it. That's real good.
This one over here doesn't either.
Yeah, so multiple missing pins. So that probably wouldn't have stayed together long, so I'm glad we checked that out. Yeah, I can't get over or stress enough putting pins through those castle nuts to hold them, and that one has one there. Now it looks like this, at one point they set the engine in different or had really enormous headers in it because they cleared this and booger welded it all back together. Not that I could probably do any better because I haven't welded in years, so I'm going to get some practice on this thing again. So those are the engine mounts there. They come with a, they've got a standoff that you put down in. I hope that thread is still good. It looks kind of chewed up. I really don't want to redo that, although look at the welds.
Somebody had a little fun.
Yeah, that is a giant mound of welds around there. So we're going to get the dash out, and then we're going to start seeing what we can do to flex this firewall back into close, better view. Isn't that nice? No, they ain't going nowhere. So it's interesting. This is where I found partial of the original color. It's like a maroonish brown almost. It was, I don't know. Hard to tell what that is. It's got some metallic in it. It's actually kind of nice. A little bit better down here. Same as the inner part of the fender. Just, I like the history of these old things. You know, I mean, this thing was kind of a rusty, worthless cause, but I don't know. I guess as long as they get second life doing something, it's good. But we're going to try to save this one enough to keep it. Try that. That'll make a good patch panel for later. We could use that. Nice aluminum. Yep. So what kills me is no hole saw required, apparently. So very interestingly cut out. But I guess I'm not used to these dirt track cars, the way they build them. I guess they just hammer it through as fast as possible. They don't care about the final result, which is, I mean, I guess it works.
Let's just go after neighbors down the street.
Yeah. So I was looking at a couple things on this while he was doing that. Is it take a look at this bracket that hangs down. That's what I guess the radiator was supposed to go in. But when this thing's fully lowered, I mean, that is going to be real close to the ground. Compare it to the factory core support that sits up about here. So it sets it down really low. I don't think that's going to stay. I might cut it and weld this bar in higher to protect the bottom of the core support, but I don't think I'm going to use it for a mount because that's awful. One cool thing is how they slotted this bar in here. So they cut a little notch and welded this in between the factory horns, which on a lot of G bodies they run on the streets, they put a bar on the bottom that connects these because the steering twists on this frame rail here really hard, especially if you're running big tires or, you know, whatnot. So that actually stiffens that front end up quite a lot. I like that, how it's slotted in. So, and I can still mount a bumper to the front, a stock bumper, that's gonna be nice. So I really like that. So that might be an idea for you guys running G bodies to do, and you could of course pretty it up and make it look nice. And it doesn't interfere with the core support because we had that one sitting down in here and it has no effect. And I fitted a front nose to it and it just doesn't touch anything, and actually neither does this, which is interesting. It sits behind everything pretty well perfectly. So that's kind of nice. So that panel's off. You can see we got all the rivets taken out. I was looking down here on this firewall, and unfortunately, if I can get in here, that firewall has been cut. Firewall has been cut all the way up into here, all the way down over here. So it's actually split all the way over to this very corner, right to here. So that's a problem, and that's not any fixed. Everything else looks pretty good. Looks like they actually melted the original seam sealer and things like that out of it, because it's all crusted and melted. Notice this pipe's got a nice little split in it here.
We're using the trim we got off the other Cutlass.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have to use that. And I got those spare tail lights over there we're going to use. The rear quarters are going to be interesting because one, it needs new ones. But two, let's see if we can see this. They're not hooked to anything. So this whole back half of the car isn't really touching. There's a bar here, but it was so far off, it was pushing the quarter panel down and putting a big kink in it. So now that you see I lifted it up, but I'm going to have to lift it up and get this bottom where it needs to be. So that's going to take some doing, where I had to put tail lights and housings in it and then pull this to where it needs to be sideways. And you can see it's kind of buckled here. So we're going to have to straighten everything and get it to where it's not buckled in. So that's going to be a little bit difficult. And you can see where they torched the bottom off to take the skins out of the back. I don't really care that this area back here is cut out. As long as I got a firewall there, it's not really going to matter. It's just lighter and easier to access everything, which is really, really nice. So this is fine. The fuel cell will live right in this area here. It's already got mounting holes, mounting bars. The fuel cell is enormous, so it'll actually work for what we want. Only problem is no hood hinges, or trunk hinges, I guess. That is going to be unfortunate, because that means every time we have to go put fuel in it, we got to take the trunk off. So I'm thinking about trying to find a remote fill that we can put in. Either that or I'll put a fiberglass trunk lid on it, because I am not lifting that steel one off every time. That's just a pain. That exhaust you see here is what we pulled out of an El Camino we got around back. It's basically the only good thing left on it. So it's pretty new. It fits. We just got it kind of sitting in there for now. Again, if you're thinking dirt track related, it looks kind of funny with an exhaust on it. But since we're kind of doing a bit of both, we wanted to have a full exhaust, because these cars will suffocate you quick if you don't have the exhaust coming out. So even though it's going to have back glass and everything in it, there's just too many holes. So we wanted a full exhaust, and then we had that. Now we don't have to, pay for it. F-bomb shirt, the best. So we will continue with what we can do, and see what we get. You're not looking at it. Look at what they're doing with. Now we got a few little booger welds mounted on there, just to kind of match the rest of the car. I gotta kind of relearn how to weld, it's been so long. Bring you guys in for the booger welds. We got some there. Got some there. Not the best with the gap, I guess I'll take it. So now we gotta start over on this catastrophe over on this side here. So we got all this. Alright, so I think I'm actually getting back into the swing of it. You can see right in here, not too bad. So there's a big gap over in here, so I kind of had to booger some on top to get that gap filled in. But then I started kind of getting back in the hang of it. So I'd say all in all, that's a little bit acceptable. And it'll certainly hold the firewall together too. So then we're gonna move on to this side here, which probably means we're gonna go ahead and take this steering off, get it out of the way, get a stock column, attempt to put it in there. The bad thing is, you can see they got a bracket mounted here, steering quickener, and the factory bolts or studs are still in it right there. So that was what would hold the column up. So that's lucky for us. So we'll try to get some of this stuff out of the way and proceed. Can you get to the front of the steering column?
Like very back or right here?
Oh, hang on. I see what's going on.
What happened?
This rigged in throttle pedal
Yeah.
is hitting that all.
Oh.
That's why it won't go all the way forward. Yeah. It's nice. Alright, so lift up on this. I've actually
As far as I can do that.
no, grab it. So here's what we got going on. I didn't see this bar going down here. You know, nice little bend. Held on by a lug nut. And then that's what supports, I guess, this bracket that what this throttle is kind of put to. But there's this welded on bar here that's trying to go behind where the steering column needs to go.
Oh, I see it now.
So we're gonna have to cut this all out first, and that explains that random hole I see or saw earlier. That's where they were trying to weld this on, and they melted through the firewall. So that explains that one, which is actually kind of lucky because it got really close to the throttle cable's mounting hole in the firewall. It would have, on the race car, it would have went through this area here, and they had plenty of clearance, so it didn't get caught, and it would have worked like that, right directly to the carburetor. So we're going to put it right back to stock with this, which means we have to get all this out of the way, which is lucky we got to take the column back out because now this has to come out, which I was wondering what that nut was there, but that's what that is. That's in the scrap pile, so I'll bring you guys in and show you the firewall now. So now we just got these tabs here and here to cut off, get those out completely out of the way so they don't extend over into that opening. And then also behind this lower one is the holes to mount the factory pedal to. So factory pedal mounts flat against the firewall like this and sits on these three tabs. So we need access to those holes so we can mount this. I'm going to prefer this one over that one. Just simple, more simple, and it's not going to get in my way like that one will. That one definitely. You'll have to forgive us for those first few videos. One, we're trying to get used to it because you're basically sitting in the garage talking to yourself. And we have very little video equipment. So we've got one small handheld tripod that we've been using, and I'm trying to build a new one. So once I get the new tripod built, we'll be able to take a little bit better angles. But for right now, we're having to go with a flat surface we can find. I can get stand, I'm done. Alright, so we're going to get this top bracket here. It's just welded on the top and just barely, I can actually twist it, so yeah, it's not held on by much. We'll get the rest of it. So, got that area cleaned up. down in here. See, it was on the back side. This area here. Got it straightened out. Bottom side's off. Right in here. So now I just need to come in and smooth this out, because that's a nightmare. What crap built up on there. Probably want to fix this hole. Yeah, I could probably do that after. Well, either way, I'm gonna fix this, and then this can get moved kind of where it needs to be. You can see how much this is all wobbled around. I'll probably try to have Brian grind inside here, and then I can tack this, because we know there's this goes. This is kind of floppy, so we'll fix this. And then with that out of the way, we can get that collar in here on that steering column and see where all this mess needs to go. I think there's actually a bolt hole on this down there. So this twisted up thing might just have to get cut off.
Or just bent off.
I don't even know where it goes for sure. I'm thinking it... Oh, it goes down here. Wow.
There ain't no way you're attaching that again.
No, it's all twisted. So we'll have to figure that out. So now that we got that in, we can start getting everything else ready, prepared. So you can see here, bring it out a little bit. So now, of course, way too long, but they're in there. So that kind of positioned all this crack here. This here, it needs to go in. So Walls have to twist this one back a little bit once we get this one back into where it needs to be.
Looks like you can just take the hammer and tap
Yeah,
that.
well, this needs to go kind of twist. But this is holding all this sheet metal where we need it. So that kind of positions the firewall, which is great. So now we will start kind of finishing up. And yeah, just slowly working our way down. I'll start with here. I'll get this one tacked in, even if it's just close, because it seems like it's gonna have a problem with actually popping back up where it used to be. So I'll see if I can get that, and then we'll tack it here, tack this one to this one, and just kind of get it all lined out. I think there's gonna be a decent gap. especially here where they've just cut it away. So, yeah, going from what it was, that is not too bad now. Well, at least we've got it where it looks like one piece. So we're going to continue just kind of tacking things together. I want to get as much that is possible to get together, and then I'll make little patches for the other things, and we're just going to put them on top. We're not going to cut it out and then butt weld anything in. We're just going to put it right. So I mean, it's as long as it's a fireball and not just Swiss cheese, I think we'll be fine. I'm gonna post this video too to the G-Body forum, so that all you guys with the G-Bodies can see what I'm up to. I normally post on there pictures or whatever, but this just seems like a better way to do it, covering something like this. And we were really excited to start our own channel because we've always been doing this stuff around here for absolute years. We've had Trans Ams in the shop, we've had all kinds of stuff, and we never got around to videoing any of them. So some of them would have been really cool, but now we are. So we decided Rust Revival Garage was a nice fitting name because all of our crap is, well, crap. Mm-hmm. So we figured that worked, and we can start kind of getting some unique things out there. I'm really excited for my boys' car, getting it started up. I'm really excited for that. And then I recently decided on my body off restoration car that I have underneath the car cover out there. I think I showed you.